The Clam Festival. If you live in Yarmouth, you know about it. It's a time for our community to come together and celebrate our local businesses, or ride the many rides, or just have fun with those close to you. Going to the festival is a tradition that holds a special place in many Mainers' hearts. And I asked those Mainers, what makes the Clam Festival special to you?
I mean, the Clam Festival is really just the celebration of the year here in Yarmouth, Maine. I mean, it's when everyone gets together and has a little fun. People get to show off their crafts, all the stuff they've been working on in their free time. And we get great rides like this, the famous Ferris wheel, where everyone loves to kiss. It's just a great celebration of what Yarmouth is.
I am a local person. I've been local here for 32 years, and I love being part of this piece of Americana. The people, so many friends and family that we see here, love taking part in it.
Clam Festival is really fun for me because I get to see people I never see during the rest of the year.
Now, if you're like me, you've been coming to this festival since you were a little kid. But if you haven't, you probably have the same questions as me. And that is, how did this piece of Yarmouth history begin? How's it evolved? And why is it called the Clam Festival? The Clam Festival we know is an annual Yarmouth event held since 1965, started to help promote local business and nonprofits. As time has passed, it still stands as one of the most important events for nonprofits and small businesses in Yarmouth, while providing many activities, starting Wednesday with the carnival that runs up until the end of the festival on Sunday. The official events start on Friday with a parade. The events then carry into Saturday with a 1-mile fun run, a 5-mile bike race, the iconic fireman's muster, clam chucking contest, and a fireworks show at night. The festival ends on Sunday with a diaper derby and a professional bike race, along with the closing of the carnival. The festival draws in 100,000 visitors over 3 days, with people coming from different states or even countries to enjoy the festivities and support local businesses and nonprofits. Now you may be asking yourself, well, how did this tradition get started? But before we cover that, we have to look at the events that came before it. Before the Clam Festival's foundings, there were other less formal events in Yarmouth, such as Old Home Week, which celebrated the history of Yarmouth and welcomed back previous residents while offering a parade. Another event that preceded the festival was the Fireman's Muster, which was the first ever kind of event in 1896, which is still a thing today. All these previous celebrations inspired the coming Clam Fest in some way, shape, or form. Now, the exact accounts of how the festival started are slightly debated, but it is said it was started by many different private committees such as churches, schools, and clubs that wanted to raise money for charitable and local purposes. They did this through the festival and the many events and booths they set up. The name was inspired by the Lobster Festival up in Rockland, but since Yarmouth is known for its clams, it got the name the Clam Festival. When first starting up, the founders had trouble with publicity, as nobody knew about the festival. This all changed, however, when an image of Donna Lee Owen Stokes as Miss Clam went around and got as viral as you could in the 1960s. And this event marked the beginning of a nearly 60-year-old tradition in Yarmouth. Now the Clam Festival itself has stayed pretty true to its roots, with most of the events seen at the first festival still being in place and taking inspiration for what came before it. The newest event added being the professional bike race, and of course, adding the mascot of the Steamer in 2004. And I think that this sticking to traditions of the fest speaks to how it brings Yarmouth and Maine as a whole together. It's a shared generational experience that everyone in the community contributes to. This leads to, in my eyes at least, the most important part of the festival, the community. It can be seen with local restaurants, businesses, and schools helping out with the festival. A major supporter and contributor to the festival will be the local high school, North Yarmouth Academy, who sets up a booth every year and has its students volunteer to help it. I spoke to the head of the Parent Association, Jessica Lynch, who's been involved in the festival since 2020, to get her perspective on what they add. So, how long have you been running the NYA Clam Festival booth?
This was my 3rd year running the booth this year.
Nice. What got you involved in the festival?
I volunteered for a couple years, and like every good volunteer opportunity, somebody nominated me for it. And so I walked in not knowing what it entailed at all managing. And then I agreed to it, and then COVID canceled it the next year. So the anxiety continued, and it's just been really fun. It's a way of having a 3-day business. So it's a lot of math, and it's a lot of figuring out how you can capitalize on those 3 days and still make a decent amount of money for the Parents Association.
So how do you think NYA has helped the festival and the Yarmouth community as a whole?
I think that the location is probably the biggest asset that the school has to give. It's a way to be able to sort of shut down the entire town and have space for people to walk safely, walk from event to event, and not have to have everything right on top of each other.
Other than schools like NYA, as I mentioned previously, nonprofits are also a large part of the festival, with securing funding for many local schools, sports teams, and organizations like the Lions Club, which give support to those in need all around Maine. These organizations get money through the iconic line of food stands selling, and I quote, more than 6,000 pounds of clams, 6,000 lobster rolls, 2,500 breakfast pancakes, 2,000 shore dinners, 400 homemade pies, and 6,000 strawberry shortcakes, all washed down with over 13,500 lime rickeys. The profits of all these dishes, of course, go into the organizations that need it, and all the food go into the hungry patrons of the festival. The Clam Festival is a representation of all the best aspects of Maine. It supports family businesses, offers activities based on what Maine is known for, such as seafood, and highlights the spirit of the Maine community. The Clam Festival doesn't only offer activities, but memories. Everyone I know has a story associated with it, whether it's friends, my parents, or my grandparents. And to round things out, I went around asking people what that memory is of the Clam Festival.
Okay, so when I was little, I used to go to the Clam Fest every year with my parents and my brother. I was always the hugest fan of American Girl dolls and dressing them up. I was not like a girly girl in the least sense, but I met this woman at the Clam Fest when I was little, and she continually came back every year, and she had these homemade American Girl like sweaters and slippers and all these cute little outfits that I was obsessed with. So every year I would go back to the Clam Fest and look for her booth in specific, and we'd always talk about it, and she would like help like choose like which would go like her hair color. It was like we were like coordinating like a full fashion show for my doll. And for someone who did not care about really fashion at the time or little things like that, it was like such a core memory of when I was little that like I remember, and it's so wholesome.
I think it's just remembering people year after year. When I grew up, I didn't have neighbors, I didn't have a sense of community. I went to school in a different town than I grew up in. And so having the same people you see come to the festival, the people that you work with at the festival, it's just a nice way to have a community that I didn't have growing up.
I grew up in southern coastal New England, and a lot of fond memories growing up were going to local fairs and carnivals. When I eventually moved to Maine and started to raise my own family, it was important for me to bring our children and attend local community fairs and festivals. Some of the best memories I had was watching our children running around the Yarmouth Clam Festival, playing with their friends, also meeting friends I haven't seen in a year or so since the last festival, seeing co-workers and neighbors, and it's a real sense of community, which is very important. And I haven't missed a Clam Festival since it's been open for now 25 years.